welcome back to another episode of Art World Confessions. Today I'm going to speak about Ari Paffgen Boulogne, and I have a little bit of a different setup today because, of course, I didn't do the proper preparations for this filming. So here we go. This little pink crystal was given to me by Ari, and Ari is the son of Alain Delon and Nico from Nico Icon from the Velvet Underground. And Ari remembers growing up with his mother. He remembers things like her putting heroin in his milk. He remembers growing up with his grandparents, the parents of Alain Delon. And he remembers it being very difficult for him growing up because his grandparents could see how much he resembled his father, but his father never really acknowledged that he was his son. And I think this really hurt him a lot. I mean, growing up with a mother, the icon Nico, and growing up with a father who didn't really acknowledge him. Either way, his grandparents, I think, did a great job raising him. And he was, in his own right, an artist. And I say was because I really don't know if he's alive or not anymore. I fell out of touch with him, I guess, sometime in the 2000s. The last time I saw him, he was in a hospital in Belleville, I think, in France, in Paris. He was in a methadone clinic, I believe. And all his life he struggled with addiction, primarily because his mother had sort of exposed him to this stuff since he was a kid. And I'm not throwing any shade on mothers out there because I myself am a mother and I know how difficult it is to raise a kid, to raise a child, to raise a son, and primarily as a single mother. I think she did raise him as a single mother, and she probably did the best she could with him at the time that she was raising him. Again, she was an artist in her own right and a great artist. Chelsea Girls is one of my favorite songs, which I played when I lived in Chelsea. And I met Ari in Pigalle. At that time, I was hanging out with a Lebanese artist, Wael Noureddin. And Wael's medium is film. He's primarily a filmmaker. And he did that short film, which was the invite for one of my James Bond birthday parties. It's called Al, Dirk, and Charlotta's James Bond party. You'll see that little short film somewhere down in the videos if you scroll down. It was one of the first videos I uploaded to YouTube, actually. Anyway, so I met Ari, and every time I would visit Paris, at that time I was visiting Paris a lot. I am French. That's a whole other story. We'll talk about that another time on an Art World Confessions. But yes, so I would visit Ari and we would hang out, have a coffee, walk around. I don't think he was drinking alcohol at that time. Or maybe he was, I can't remember, but he definitely smoked a lot of cigarettes. And we had a lot of good talk about art, a lot of good talk about life. And I suppose, he gave me this pink crystal. And when I looked up the meaning of a pink crystal, because he told me to look it up, it is something for the heart chakra. It is something for love. And all these years, I've kept this crystal with me. He told me, put it in your bag and walk around with it, keep it close to you. And I have kept it close to me. And whenever I look at this crystal, I do think about him. And I'm sorry we've fallen out of touch. He did try to send me packages and stuff about the stuff he was writing. And I looked at it, and at that time I was going through my own stuff, so I wasn't present enough to take care of him perhaps in the way that he needed taken care of. It's not easy to take care of a drug addict. And I think in the art world especially, we find a lot of people who are extreme characters and not necessarily drug addicts, but extreme. And in some ways, this is part of their art. This is part of their creativity. This is part of their process and part of their greatness. But it's not easy for everyone to take care of such a person. Anyway, so if Ari's out there, I definitely would like to be in touch with him again. I really don't know where to find him, most likely in France. Hopefully he survived COVID. I mean, I suppose if you're going in and out of hospitals, they probably gave you as many shots as they possibly could figure it out to give you. And that's the story for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Art World Confessions. Next week, I'll speak about something else related to people in the art world, artists, and stuff like that. I won't reveal much, but I also have an episode coming up for the podcast with an artist who's based in Geneva and in Berlin. His name is Anthony Banvart. So check back in this weekend for that podcast episode, which will be an interview about his work. And Anthony is an interesting artist. I think you'll find a lot of interesting stuff on that podcast. So stay tuned. And I've made a whole playlist of podcasts, both the ones that you listen to only, the oral ones, which are a bit older, and the visual podcast, which are online interviews that I've recorded with Zoom. That's in a list of itself. And there's also a playlist with Art World Confessions, which this is the 11th episode. So if you haven't seen them as yet, by all means, go back and look at the others. I think you'll really enjoy them and get to see the evolution of this podcast and the stuff that I'm discussing, and hopefully get something about where I'm coming from and where I think the art world is going in the future. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I should have worn my glasses, but when I looked in the camera, my glasses were reflecting so badly with these lights that I've installed. But I think I need the lights because I've looked at some past episodes and they definitely need a little bit more lighting. So thank you again for being here. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you know when I upload an episode. And by all means, keep doing your art thing. Thank you.